Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It is a new week. It's a blank canvas. Time to paint some new pictures and tell some football stories. And as some fans are going off the rails today, we have pure calm in the house.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Our squaddies coming to you at an early hour again for a Monday Madness. But when you get guests like Clive Palmer last week and this guy this week, you go with the flow. And I'm really delighted to welcome back to Squad Central one of your favorites, Andrew Mangan, aka the Podfather himself.
Hi, Sophie.
Hello, mate. You look very debonair with those glasses. I dig. Very.
Thanks very much. I can see with them as well. They're both stylish and practical.
You actually look like you're ready to step onto the set of a Quentin Tarantino movie. That's how cool you look with those glasses.
As a kind of bad guy or a kind of good bad guy?
I think a guy that, I think, the guy that kind of you think is bad but ends up being the hero at the end.
Okay, I can live with that. I can.
Well, hopefully you can be our hero today. Typical Monday madness in the Arsenal universe after the Chelsea game. And by the way, squaddy, stay tuned to the very end of the show because I've got a couple of important announcements to make once we let Andrew bounce. I'm going to start off a little bit differently with you today, Andrew, because I do have my top 5 talking points for you. But I want to get some quick fire responses on the game yesterday, of course. 1-1 against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Mikel Arteta yet to lose as an Arsenal manager at Stamford Bridge. Some fans not taking any good takeaways from this. Want to start with the obvious. Who's to blame for the goal? Because it felt like once we went 1-up, it was going to be tough for them to score, even though they looked dangerous. But in your opinion, there's a lot of finger pointing today. Who do you think is to blame for the equaliser?
I think it is a bit of a collective thing. There's too much space in midfield. If you look at what happens, William Saliba gets dragged out of position, rather. He goes over to the left-hand side. Both Thomas Partey and Declan Rice cover for him at centre half, which leaves this space in midfield. I've looked back at the video a bit. To me, it looks like Declan Rice is marking Fofana. He's goal side of him. So I think it's on Partey to step forward into midfield and maybe to close off some of that space. But I also think it's a bit too easy for Pedro Neto to run off Gabriel Martinelli, who just sort of has a look over his shoulder as Neto is making that run, so doesn't quite catch him. So I don't know. It's just a lack of concentration, I think, on the part of a couple of players. So I don't want to crucify anybody, but I think in that situation, I think Partey and Martinelli could do better, and I think maybe Declan Rice needs to tell Thomas Partey that he's got Fofana, therefore he can step forward into midfield. After that, it's a very good hit from Neto, and I wouldn't blame anybody else after that.
Yeah, he's quite a good player, isn't he, that one?
I like him. Well, I used to like
him. Have you seen the video of ØDEGAARD? There's a clip, I think now.arsenal posted it, a few others as well, of him seeing the play coming, and he's literally yelling and pointing Gabby to where he needs to be. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen that. No.
Oh, it to me underlines what we've missed. But I'm gonna get to ØDEGAARD with you as well. Okay, so Marino comes on. I'm going to be honest. I haven't been harsh on him, but I don't think he's not been there long enough to really kind of analyze him and dissect him. I thought he had a really good first half against Liverpool. Didn't think he was great in the Champions League, but when he came on, you seemed to see little urgency and this kind of tactical brain. And then there's Arsenal fans arguing who's the 6, who's the 8, who should start. Because Thomas Partey and ØDEGAARD are eschewing. Some fans questioning Declan Rice. He hasn't had great form this season. Is Marino a smarter footballer, better technically? What's your take on the two?
Oof, it's hard to know. I think what's interesting about the way he played yesterday was we saw him take risks maybe for the first time. Maybe not even risks, but he was willing to try things in midfield that maybe he wasn't previously. And I think some of that is just him settling in. He's only played, 4 or 5 games, 5, 6 games, something like that. And he's had a problematic start to his career at the club because of injury and he didn't really have a preseason, went all the way with Spain, of course. Um, I I was encouraged by what I saw from Mikel Marino yesterday. I thought it was interesting that he and Odegaard were on the same wavelength quite quickly because they have a bit of previous from their time together at Real Sociedad when Odegaard was on loan there. So they know each other quite well, and he bounced off him quite well a few times. I don't really understand what his role is going to be 100%, but I think with Odegaard back in the team, he might make more sense as an 8 than a 6. And I think you then have a choice perhaps between Declan Rice and Thomas Partey to play in that deeper role. Rice didn't look 100% yesterday at all. I think he's suffering whatever it is with that toe injury, a broken toe. He couldn't play the 90 minutes, which is not like him at all. So I think he was quite inhibited yesterday. So rather than sort of say it's got to be this guy, it's got to be that guy, I'm happy to look at the positives and see some things from Marino that we haven't seen yet, and I hope we see a lot more of those. I mean, the first thing he did was nearly get on the end of a cross from Bukayo Saka, so close. But I liked what he did on the ball. I liked the courage with which he played yesterday, even in tight spaces. He was able to turn away from Chelsea players and make good passes forward when a lot of the time yesterday we were a bit lateral, and we needed more verticality, if you want to call it that. I think we needed to get between the lines a bit more, and he gave us that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that was the argument a lot of fans had, was that there was a lot of old school Xhaka, diagonal passing backwards from Rice versus, that kind of instinct to go forward. Okay, here's another one for you. Is Timber better on the left or the right side? I know we're missing Calafiori, mostly going forward versus defending. I think he's got some work to do there, Andrew. But what do you think about Timber left or right? And what's your take on that?
I don't think I've seen enough of him on the right to be definitive about this. I think he's been needed on the left quite a bit this season. I think his best game for us came on the right. Was it against Leicester? When he played at right back, and I think he ended up with something like 6 or 7 key passes in the game and was really, really impressive. He was able to create from outside the box. He was also able to create on the overlap, as we saw with Ben White, and as Ben White has done quite often, overlapping Bukayo Saka and creating chances from there. But we really haven't seen enough of him yet to really be definitive about where he's best. My gut feeling would tell me he's better on the right because that's where he's played most of his career, either as a right back or as a right-sided centre half. But I think he's so good he can play on the left. I thought he was good yesterday as well. Really impactful going forward. He gives us things in that area. He's very comfortable on the ball, very strong, very quick. So if I have to put my hat on one, I'm going to say the right, but he's played most of the time on the left this season. So maybe I'm wrong, but we'll find out in due course, I think.
The beautiful thing about him is the versatility, isn't it? It's so great to have a player like him in the squad. I don't think he's been tip top since he's been back from injury, but my goodness, that guy's been through it, hasn't he? Fair enough.
I think we have just to say, I think we do have to remember he was out for basically a year. And it will take time for him to come back and find his best form and find his best physical condition as well. So I think what he's doing, on the basis of the absence and the seriousness of the injury that he had last season is very, very impressive, And I think he's quite, if we're talking about versatility, I know he's injured and we forget about him, but Tomiyasu can do exactly the same.
Yeah.
Right, left, and center half. Whether we see enough of him in the future, I don't know, but certainly we're lucky to have a couple of players as versatile as that if they can stay fit, you know?
Yeah. Like, we just completely always forget about Tomiyasu. It's kind of sad, really. Okay, this one might rile some people up, but I have to ask the question because I was asking Clive, and I asked Henry Winter as well, you know, who misses or who missed Odegaard the most? Was it the attacking play or really was it the defense in terms of how Odegaard can control the tempo of the game? And do you think that the two-star defenders have regressed a little bit this season, or are they a victim to kind of what's been happening with them left and right, injury-wise, in front of them? You know, Marino's new, Odegaard hasn't been there. Do you feel like they have that? I don't know. Maybe it's the team that's lost that intimidation factor, Andrew, and that uh, that kind of cockiness, that confident cockiness. What do you think about that question about Saliba and Gabriel?
I think the instability throughout this season has impacted everybody. I don't think anyone is above that kind of instability and the problems that we have had playing with 10 men, playing without key players for a long time, picking up injuries. All of those things I think are impacting every player. When you think about, right, who has really played to their best level so far this season for Arsenal, it's hard to say, you know, that maybe Bukayo Saka, David Raya,
Thomas Partey's been pretty decent,
Thomas
hasn't he?
Partey, yeah, maybe, you know, but beyond that, I don't think collectively and individually we've been near our best.
Mm.
So I don't worry too much about Saliba and Gabriel in that sense. James made a really good point today on the Arscast Extra, which we recorded a bit earlier when we were talking about why we're conceding so many goals. And he basically said that there's a link between the fact that we're not attacking as well and the fact we're not defending as well. If we were scoring more goals and spending more time in the opposition half and causing the opposition more problems in their final third, then we probably would have an easier time defensively. You know, it's not a vicious circle, but you know, it's one of those things where I think the two things are connected, and I agree with him on that. I just think there's been such instability all the way through, all the changes that we've had, and you know, one of the things that was a hallmark of last season was a consistency in the back four. I know there were changes at left back for the most part, but throughout, Saliba and Gabriel were and Ben White were ever present basically, and I think the midfield hasn't been quite where it needs to be. The attack hasn't been quite where it needs to be. The defense hasn't been quite where it needs to be either. So I think all of those things are connected rather than it being a case that Saliba and Gabriel have lost something. I don't go along with that.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough. And we're going to get into Arteta and post-international break in just a second here. I have one more for you here on the little quickfire bit. At first, I positioned this question generically, but then I kind of wanted to hone it down, maybe more focused on the left side. I just feel like, and I'm team Martinelli all the way. I wanted him to play out of his funk. I want Trossard to be the super sub. I think he's much more effective, Andrew, when he comes off the bench. He's definitely fallen off form wise, but like you just said, nobody's been great. They've all decided to be shit at the same time, if we're being honest, which bodes well, maybe that we're going through adversity now. But when I watch us play as well, I just think it's become a little bit predictable on the left side. You know, Martinelli loves to hug that byline. I still scream when I want him to look up and pass the ball a little bit quicker. Feels like those little issues should have been rectified in his game right now. But then he goes on to score, which I was stoked about. But in terms of that kind of wow factor, woof. You know, Stephen Ick always says on our show, if I see Saka and Martinelli starting, I think it's game over for Liverpool. What's your take on the predictability factor, and if you think that we still have that wow factor on that left side?
I think maybe it is a little predictable. And if you look at pass maps and things like that, you can see that Martinelli is quite often very isolated on that left-hand side. There's a different left back every other game. There's a different left 8 every other game. So those connections aren't the same on the left-hand side as they are on the right. So when everyone's fit on that right-hand side, you know, last season and before, you have Ben White, you have Martin Odegaard, you have Bukayo Saka, who can all do different things. They can all cause threat in different ways, but they have that combination. And Arteta talks a lot about chemistry, doesn't he? You know, the chemistry of his players, the ability to know what somebody's doing, to be able to play off them and create those spaces. Whereas I think with Martinelli, he doesn't have those connections, or he doesn't have them on a consistent basis. Like, I think Kai Havertz has been great for us, but I'm not sure that Kai Havertz and Gabriel Martinelli really connect very well. So I do think it's not necessarily just about Martinelli. It's about how we build up down that left-hand side. I did think, you know, it occurred to me that maybe Ricardo Calafiori was somebody who was brought in to be a bit of glue, if you like, on that side of the pitch. Obviously, he's had some injuries, and that's a bit of a disappointment. In general, though, I would like to see something else from our wingers, not just Martinelli on the left, but Saka on the right. I feel like they can get into central areas more often, or should be able to get into central areas more often. Saka scores a lot of goals. If you give him the ball on that sort of right corner of the box and let him get towards the D, how many goals has he scored from there in his career? Lots. We very rarely see that from Martinelli. Getting into those positions. Once or twice he came in yesterday and was blocked off, but more often than not, he is staying wide, or he's trying to go to the byline and win a corner, get a cross in and win a corner, you know. I just think a little variety wouldn't hurt. And I'm not sure we have it on the bench either with Jesus and with Sterling and even Trossard, who I think is best, you know, in those central areas, in that inside left channel. That's where he's best and where he's most effective. So as an out-and-out flank player, I think there is room for something else there, whether it's in January or next summer.
Do you have your eye on anyone real quick?
No, not really.
No? Okay.
I mean, Nico Williams is the one where you're thinking in the summer, this guy could be the guy. In the summer, I was big on Pedro Neto because he can play on both sides. Can play on the left, he can play on the right. As we saw yesterday, he was very, very effective when he came in on the right, off the right-hand side. That's where he scored the goal from. So I liked him. I liked the fact that we could have one player for both positions. But I think what we miss maybe more than anything is just that bit of like raw pace. So if we can find a player with that raw pace, with the talent, with the technical ability, that would be the guy. I don't know who it is, but that would be what I would look for, you know, because we think about pace as like get him free on the halfway line and let him run through. Pace is also doing a guy over 5 or 6 yards, you know, in a tight space when you're sitting against a low block and you've got that ability to burst beyond the defender, give him a shimmy and burst and get into the box and make that cross or have a shot. That's pace as well, you know, so
I agree with you, and I know some people may laugh at me, but I'm going to say it anyway, because not often, well, we've seen how Duran came from MLS and is doing great at Aston Villa. I've been watching a player all season at LA Galaxy. His name's Gabriel Peck, and he came from Vasco, Brazil. I tell you, he's like the roadrunner, but not only that, he's so technically good. He was voted newcomer of the year. Some people thought he was the player of the year, but Messi, of course, is going to win that. Every time I see him, I'm like, this is the kind of guy that I would love Arsenal to buy. He's still very young, right? But to have him on the bench and mold him. So I'm gonna send you a link to check out Gabriel Peck. I should send it to Clive as well. But I think he's the type of player that could pull a Duran and make it, you know, in the Premier League. And, you know, a lot of the times we talk about these names we always see. It's like now everyone's obsessed with Gyökeres, you know, 2 seasons ago. Sure. And of course, they're all great players, but there's still these gems that we have to unearth, you know, a la Brighton, Southampton used to do it so well, didn't they?
Yeah, Brighton are ridiculous, aren't they? Their talent ID is off the charts. You know, you look at somebody like Baliba, who came on at halftime on Saturday against Manchester City and was just sensational. He's 20 years of age. They got him from Lille. I mean, yeah,
So good, right?
A bit of that, you know, and
Yeah.
particularly where I think in forward positions, you can take that bit of a gamble on a player where there can be an element of rawness to them that over time can be honed, and you can coach them, and you can improve their decision making and things like that. But if they make a mistake, rather than a midfielder or a defender, a young defender, it's not necessarily going to cost you in the same way.
Mhm.
So I think that might be the area where, if you are going to try and unearth a gem, as you say, that is the position I would like to see it happen in.
Yeah, totally. Well said about that. It's true. It's so true because it's more forgiving, isn't it, to miss a chance than it is to screw up defensively or in goal even. So, yeah. Okay. You're listening to Highbury Squad. We've got Andrew here, aka Arseblog. If you've been living under a rock, you know he's the podfather. So we'll get to our top 5 talking points now. Thank you for that. And maybe you could weave in a little bit more of the game through some of these questions.
Sure.
Of course, the world's imploded. It's 9 points. If I do remember correctly, did Liverpool once blow an 11-point lead against Man City? Was it 11? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't them. I know we blew a lead against Manchester City 2 seasons ago. Arne Slot's Liverpool looked brilliant. He inherited the architecture of a brilliantly run club for the last few years. 4 world-class players at least, Andrew. It's November. We've had our adversity. I think Man City are going through their adversity now. Surely Liverpool will have to go through some adversity during the season. Is it over for you?
No, it's too early. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm massively confident, but I can't give up in November. I do think Liverpool have been very impressive this season. I think you can talk about the fixture list being kind, and I think it has been relatively kind, but they've built a momentum, and that is so powerful in football. You know, you start winning games, and you build confidence and belief, and they've done very, very well. I do wonder if it is sustainable over the course of the season, that at some point they will have, excuse me, I've got a terrible cold. They will have a little blip along the way. They might lose a game or two, and that's all it takes. You know, Liverpool only need to lose 2 games, and for us to beat Liverpool when they come to the Emirates, and there's your 9 points, you know, assuming we win our other games. So I can't say it's over. Is it more difficult? Yeah, 100%, but not over yet. But the onus is on us to really start going once we get back from this international break, because we don't really have any more margin for error.
Yeah. The margins are so fine now, and the difference between being average last season to this season, well, we'll not say average, not in form, was the points difference, right, Andrew? We were still close. But to call a league in November, and if there's anyone that I believe that is going to, some people think that maybe the players are fatigued by Mikel's voice in his message. I don't think that's the case at all yet. I just think that they've played a lot of football. They've gone through a lot of adversity. And you could see yesterday that once everyone's back and fit, this starting 11, and it's up for debate on the left side, of course, but this starting 11 is the best Arsenal starting 11. And so do you think we've regressed? Because points-wise, or have we just been unlucky with the injuries, in a nutshell? Because points-wise, this time last year we had 24. The season before we had 28, 27. And this season it's how many points? 19 points.
19, yeah. I mean, maybe there is an element of regression because, you know, we've been really good and we've set the bar very, very high. And those standards are hard to maintain. So it's not surprising that there might be a bit of regression, or that certain results don't go your way, or you have a little blip in form, which feels very acute when you've been used to winning a lot of games like we did, particularly in the second half of last season. I do think the fixture list has been really unkind. Like, we've played so many difficult games away from home. You know, Man City away, Spurs away, Villa away. We've had injuries to key players. We've had ridiculous red cards. You know, we've had to, 3 times we played with 10 men, not just for like 10 minutes, for the entire second half against Brighton, for the entire second half against Manchester City, and for over an hour against Bournemouth. And I think one of the things that we don't think about maybe is what does that cost the players who stay on the pitch? Physically, what does that cost them? Obviously, it costs you a player, and then that player is suspended for the next game, but it means that those 10 guys or whoever else you use off the bench have really got to dig in and work very hard. So there's probably a physical cost to that. I don't think it's difficult to understand why we've dropped points this season because of those things, which isn't to make an excuse. But if you want to be objective, and you want to look at why things haven't been as good, then those are perfectly valid reasons. 3 red cards, injury to our most creative player. Ben White's had injuries. Timber's had injuries. Gabriel has had an injury to his knee. Declan Rice is not right, clearly, since the Euro. Calafiori's had injury. You know, there are just loads of things that we've had to deal with. And the job is go out and win the games regardless of that. That's what sport is and what football is. There's no escaping that. And I would prefer, obviously, that we were going a bit better, but I can understand why things haven't been as good as we would like. But like I said a minute ago, the onus now is on us to respond after this international break. It's sort of like clean slate, turn the page over, right, it's done now. It's Arsenal all the way between November and March, I think, is the next international break. So we've got Premier League, we've got Carabao Cup, we've got Champions League, we've got FA Cup, and it's just purely about us. And hopefully in that period, we can start building some form and building some rhythm and keeping players fit and available and getting them going again. And, you know, if we do, I think things will improve.
Okay, so I'm going to ask my 4th question third here, because it's a riff kind of off on what you're saying. And I asked Clive this question too. Do you think Mikel has proven he can manage in adversity? Now, a lot of the times, you know, we'll say, what's the plan B? But there's also been plan B in terms of even not periphery players, but bench players have been affected by injury or recovering from injury. 2 new signings, Marino, Calafiori. Marino, the Steve Morrow, you know, who'd have thunk it kind of injury. Although, you know, those boys were being silly at the time. Calafiori, you're hoping is not going to have injury issues. Andrew, has he proven that he can, or are we yet to see it?
Hasn't his entire Arsenal career been some measure of adversity in many ways? Arriving at a club that was like completely in the doldrums, like that was our rock bottom. You know, the end of the Wenger era was not pretty. The Emery era was not pretty. I think there's a discussion to be had about, is he maybe a little cautious at times? Does he take enough risks at times? That's valid for me. But can he manage in adversity? Like, he dragged us from that kind of rock bottom, like I said, and I know there were difficult times for him as well. You think about that period in 2020 when we couldn't win a game for love nor money, but then we're title challengers out of nowhere, because you and I, and I'm pretty sure everybody looking at this, saw Arsenal and saw in the distance, the long, long distance, we saw Manchester City and Liverpool, and we aspired to being as good as them or being able to challenge them. But I think everybody would have said it was a long way away. It's going to take years to do that. And we got there more quickly than people thought. You know, that first title challenge was a bit of a surprise. And I think we were a bit like a rolling stone gathering no moss, and we just sort of rumbled our way towards almost the title and then just didn't have enough, you know, when we had some issues towards the end of last season. I think there's always things in football that challenge you as a manager, that mean you have to deal with a certain amount of adversity. And even this season, I know we haven't had some great results, and we've lost a couple of games, but it does feel, as I said earlier on, that adversity has been our major opposition. You know, every player you get injured, every red card you get, every suspension you get, like, and we just haven't had, like, not a bit of luck this season. And I know you can't sort of sit here and bank on, well, we need a bit of good luck, but like City scoring that goal with the last kick of the game, and you know, the one yesterday where maybe it would have been ruled out for offside, but Trossard tries to dink it in, takes it away from Havertz, those kinds of things. It just feels like not much has gone our way, and pretty much everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. So I think there are questions to be asked, of course, but I think he is capable of managing in adversity. I think the adversity might be why he is slightly overcautious at times, and maybe won't take risks with certain team selections that we all might see, want to see. But yeah, I don't worry about that. I do worry sometimes about if the players maybe just feel a bit restricted at times. But then you think about last season, and we didn't look like a team that was restricted. It looked like what we were doing worked over and over and over and over again, and people didn't have an answer for it. So I think when things don't go quite as well as you'd like, it's a bit easier to see the negative side of things and forget that last season this was a brilliant team that came within a whisker of winning the title. So
yeah, David Hillier said on the show, the squaddies are probably sick of me saying this, but when I have super guests like you on, and an ex-player who's kind of been in the mix says it, he said, going again a third year when you haven't won it the previous two is not going to be easy. You know, he said it's going to be really, really, really tough. Okay, so I'm going to go back and listen to my adversity bit on yesterday's post-game show, because maybe I was a little bit harsh. However, I think where I was harsh was, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Andrew, real quick, is because tactically you're much smarter than I am. Does Mikel just make subs? Or does he? I guess what I'm trying to say is I can't remember seeing a substitution where I've gone, wow, that other than, okay, you score a goal, that's a great sub. But take me to your tactical brain. Does he make subs and switches, like, you know, the system, the tactics enough for you?
Maybe not. I do think it is in part because of who he's got available to him. Like, what I thought that the sub against Inter was interesting because he took Mikel Marino off and put Gabriel Jesus on. And we were far, far better than Inter Milan in the second half, like way better. I think the first half was pretty even. Second half, we bossed that game. They couldn't get out of their own half. And that was a substitution where we took off a central midfielder and put on an attacking player and took control of the game because of that. So maybe there's a lesson there for him. Maybe there's something he can learn from that, where, you know, there are other ways to control the game rather than keeping the ball between your central midfielders and your central defenders. I think it is in part, though, because of what he's got on the bench and who he has got on the bench. You know, sometimes you look at our bench and think, who are the game changers? Who would I absolutely count on to score a goal from the bench? The only player I can think of who I really would, if he came off the bench, stick a fiver on him. Yeah, he could get us a goal, is Trossard, because he's got a record of doing it. And he's got the quality and he's got the experience to do it. And it's a sort of a weird cycle with Trossard where he goes out of the team, he comes off the bench and scores a few goals, and everybody says he's got to be starting. And then he starts a few games and it goes okay, and then it dwindles a bit, and then he goes back to the bench, comes off the bench and has an impact again, which, I think he did yesterday. He had a positive impact yesterday. Missed a terrible chance. I think that would have been offside as well, the one he hit over the bar.
We were caught offside quite a bit yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, maybe what happened yesterday was Trossard saved us some pain by having 2 goals disallowed for marginal offsides. I don't know. But he feels like the only one that we've got available to us who can really make an impact from the bench. I'm not convinced by Gabriel Jesus anymore, unfortunately, or Raheem Sterling so far, what we've seen this season. And after that, we're talking about a 17-year-old.
Oh, I was going to riff off what you were saying again there. What is your take?
I'd like to see more. Of course, I'd like to see more. I'm also very aware of the fact he is only 17.
What's the difference between Lamine Yamal starting for Barcelona and Nwaneri not being able to do that with Arsenal? This is the part I don't get.
Yeah. I can only assume that there are things about Nwaneri that we are not privy to, because I see the talent, like you and everybody. I see the potential. I see the ability. I see the things that he does when he comes on the pitch, right? That moment against Inter Milan, that turn and shot over the bar. The only thing I can think of is that his development is being managed very deliberately, because there might be something physical that we're not aware of. And it's actually something Arteta said a couple of weeks ago when he was asked about bringing young players through. And he said, you have to manage them like they go from playing youth football to Premier League, which is so physically demanding. It's night and day, the difference going from youth level to Premier League. And when you are growing, there are things that you have to contend with, that your body has to contend with, that maybe this is why we're not seeing as much of him as we would like, because they're either worried or they're afraid, or they think they could, damage his career down the line by overplaying him too early. That can happen to young players as well, where they come in at a very early age and they burn out quickly. Michael Owen, Cesc Fabregas, guys who have started their careers at a very early age don't tend to go on as long as some of the others. So
look what happened to Jack, right, Andrew? Maybe that.
There's another great example, isn't it? And Jack, I'm sure when Jack looks back at his career and how he dealt with injuries, not just the club dealt with injuries, but how he himself dealt with injuries, would probably do things a lot differently. Because once you make that breakthrough into the first team, you don't want to lose your place. So you don't talk enough about what the problem is, or how your ankle is, or how your hamstrings are, and those kinds of things, I mean, I would like to see more, and I think we will see more over the course of the season. I would have liked to have seen a bit more over the period of Martin Odegaard's absence. I think that would have been a good opportunity, particularly with some of the home games that we've had. When you think about Southampton, you think about Leicester. But he is playing, and he's in the squad every week. He's on the team bus every week, and he's played more minutes for the first team at his age than Saka did at the same age. So just give him a bit of time. But I think the bigger issue for me isn't so much that we're not seeing enough of Nwaneri. I think the issue really is that when Martin Odegaard got injured, Nwaneri was the only player of a similar profile that we had in the squad, because we let Fabio Vieira go and we let Emile Smith-Rowe go, and we didn't replace them with a similar kind of player.
Facts. I was happy to see Vieira go personally, but Emile Smith-Rowe, of course, that tug at the heartstrings, and that wasn't easy. Okay, so I've got one more for you, and then we're going to do some quick fire questions from the listeners because they've got some stuff for you. I've saved the best. I've saved the best till last. I asked this question a couple of weeks ago, and at the time it felt like Saka was the most important. This week it feels like Odegaard is, and it's felt like over the last few weeks that it is Odegaard. Andrew, what a player, and seeing him yesterday, he's a machine. An absolute, not only is he a magician, but he's also a machine. Talk to me about him.
I think what's, the obvious thing that he brings to the team is creativity, the ability to find that pass in the final third, the one that he made for Martinelli to score the goal. It was his pass in the 96th minute to William Saliba on the overlap, like William Saliba on the overlap in the 96th minute. That's crazy. But it was Odegaard who was there on the edge of the box making that pass. So the obvious thing is his creativity. For me, though, it goes beyond that. I think his influence on the team is far deeper than just creativity. I think he is the conductor of our orchestra. He is the one who organizes. He is the one who gestures to the players. He is the one who decides when we press, when we don't press. That influence on how we play. And I think we just have a lot more technical security in the opposition half when we have Martin Odegaard in the team. How did the goal come about? We won the ball in the opposition half, and it was Martin Odegaard who won the ball, kept it alive with Thomas Partey and made the cross. So that ability to win those tackles as well in the opposition half is a big part of his game. I think positionally and tactically, he understands the game so well, but he understands what the opposition do as well. So I love what he does. I love how he does it. And, I'm so glad to see him back. The fact that he could do 96 minutes having not played since August 31st, unbelievable. Like you could see he was tired towards the end, but like I said, he was still there in the right position, picking those passes. It could have led to a winning goal in the last minute. So it's great to have him back, and fingers crossed he can stay fit.
Definitely. And, that video I told you I saw today where he's yelling, he could see the goal coming. And afterwards, his reaction, but he could see the goal coming. And you're right. Like, he's been Arteta's coach on the pitch for 2 seasons now. It's incredible. And I had the opportunity to talk to him when I was in Cyprus, when Norway played Cyprus in a qualifier. And I got to talk to him. And Andrew, everything around that team was everything. I know Haaland was being treated like the superstar, take him to the coach. Martin was just handling everything and everyone. He puts everyone on his shoulders. The leadership skills that boy has. I mean, I was so beyond impressed by being around that, for a couple of days. And you could see it with Arsenal as well. And what he brings, we have missed him greatly. And that's why I think he may not be, he's our most important player, I think, for sure. My opinion. Let me get, you can do these in quick. I promised you, I'm going into VAR added minutes now for you, okay?
There's no problem.
A fun one for you from Thunder Road. Is Andrew participating in Movember, or does he normally rock a moustache?
Not normally, but it's a new development. It's not Movember, but it's a new thing.
Okay. So. I love it. I love it. What do you think of, I always say this is timing is amazing. Favs asks about merch and timing, and it being in marketing and PR, I can assure you that you just don't drop merch the day after. It takes a lot of planning, Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, these things they look conveniently timed, but there's a lot of work goes into those projects, isn't there? The release date, and by the time things like that are signed off, all the hoops you have to jump through to get a piece of merchandise or even a piece of artwork signed off for release at a big organization like Arsenal. It's not just someone's gone, oh, that wasn't a great result, let's get some new tracksuits. Doesn't quite work like that, but they do seem, maybe it's just the frequency with which they happen. There's new merch every week.
It's quarterly stuff. So, and it's the holiday season, and stay tuned because I got something special for you guys for the holiday season. Okay, here's another one for you. Andrew, which area would you, from Demsec, strengthen in January?
Forwards, 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 forwards. Whether it's a striker or a winger, definitely something in the final third to give us more in the opposition half.
PW wants to know if we have enough speed in the midfield. He thinks we need to be quicker in attack.
I think we can move the ball quicker. Doesn't necessarily have to be leg speed, if that makes sense. Someone like Cesc Fabregas, not a very quick player, but the speed with which he moved the ball helped Arsenal attack more quickly. So I think that is maybe where we need to look, rather than trying to find somebody who can run very fast.
Thunder Road. We already played Liverpool at the Emirates. Second half match will be at Anfield.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
But I missed it. I missed it too. But not being funny, we got 4 points off them last season, Andrew. I know, playing at Anfield, we managed to finally get that point. It's the other smaller games that scuffed us, isn't it, really? Let's be honest. Jonathan K, do you think we need some technical midfielders over strikers, wingers? We don't create many chances. It's not like our attackers are missing loads of chances. I think we have missed opportunities. Go on, Andrew.
I think we have, but yeah, like I said, we've only got Martin Odegaard and we have a very young Ethan Nwaneri. And beyond that, I think there is room certainly for another technical midfielder, whether it's a passer or maybe it's somebody who's got a bit of, that kind of Thomas Rosicky burst in midfield, that not a classic number 10, but there is room for me for more technical ability in the midfield for sure. And look, I think we'll get there, because there is a decision to be made, isn't there, at the end of the season on what happens with Partey and what happens with Jorginho. I think both of those players will go. You push Rice back to 6. You've got maybe Marino, who can be a 6 as well, or playing a double pivot with Rice, or you bring in somebody else who's got the technical ability. There were some names up there: Santi Cazorla, Cesc Fabregas. I
mean, and also be careful what you wish for. I mean, Nasri went on to do good things, of course, but Kleb didn't do great things, did he, really, when he left?
But I mean, technically he was
underrated, I think, actually, Andrew.
It was just like, shoot, please. Get into great positions and then just not shoot. It drove me mad. But technically he was outstanding, yeah.
Brilliant stuff from you. And good evening to you as well, Fergus, Guns and Yellow Ribbons. Go listen to the boys at 7 o'clock. Evening all. Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was. Yeah, and loving the Movember Tash, Andrew. There you go. You're getting the Movember vibes from the squaddies. And listen, what have you got coming up? What are you and James up to? What kind of trouble are you guys getting into?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we're gonna just keep things ticking over during the international break, as we always do. And maybe just take, like everybody else, a sort of line in the sand after this first sort of quarter of the Premier League season and get ready to go again, because I think it's going to be very intense. As I said, there's just game after game after game after November, the hectic festive schedule, and into January. I mean, Champions League extends into January as well, so there's a lot going on. So maybe just recharge the batteries a little bit during this international break. But all the stuff that is always there, people will find it on the website and in all the usual places.
Lovely. A little cheeky trip to Spain, maybe? Eh?
Actually, not Spain, but Portugal.
Ooh, very nice.
Little trip to, after the international break, to Lisbon to see I think there's a game of football out there.
Maybe
I'll go to that.
Andrew, thanks so much for joining as always. Really appreciate you and your time. You're always gracious with it every season, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Anytime for you, Sophie. Thanks a million, and thanks to everybody watching.
Cheers, mate. Take care. Thank you so much. That is Andrew. I'm going to stay on with you a little bit here and do some housekeeping for just a second, because I've got a few announcements that I need to make. Thank you to Andrew. Don't forget to go follow him. Of course, you guys know where to follow him, at Arseblog, right? And yeah, brilliant stuff from him. My squaddies, how are you, everyone? Hey, yeah, that was a great chat. Do you feel calm after that? Do you feel like, that you feel happy and calm after that. He is great as ever. Hello to Andrew. Thank you to him from all of you. And as our Chief Like Officer Tammy says, remember to hit the like button, please. All right, let's make some announcements, shall we? It's the holiday season and Santa Soph is here. All right. Now, of course, you know about all the stuff we've been doing with football prizes this season. The auction ends tonight in actually half hour, so you may still have a chance to go grab a ticket for the Saka. It's probably sold out. I haven't checked, unfortunately. I couldn't check before I came on air. But the Saka signed custom frame shirt, football prizes. Please do go give them a visit, give them a follow. They have brilliant stuff, and it's the holiday season coming up. You could buy a ticket for like £3 and end up getting an amazing gift for someone or yourself. Remember, during the holiday season, it's not just about gifting others, it's also about gifting yourself too. And as promised, we have a great relationship with Zenith Coins. They've done incredible work, and I'm about to just, let me see, because sorry, I didn't edit this, and I'm going to do it right now while I'm on air. See how talented we can be. We can just edit stuff while we're talking. Brilliant stuff. Okay, so this season, for your holiday gifting for your Arsenal mates, Zenith Coins are giving us 15% off if you use code, and I screwed it up, of course. It's actually code SQUAD15. All right. Go to Zenith Coins and check this out. 15% off this. They've launched the Invincibles coin. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. Let me get rid of the banner. It's 5 coins and it is an absolutely beautiful case. You've got the certificate of authenticity, and yeah, you need white gloves to handle it. Commemorating Arsenal's greatest ever season, going invincible 2003, 2004. You can have this as a memento forever, or gift it for your mates. Use code SQUAD15. And that is such a brilliant deal. It really is, Tammy. It's beautiful. Well done. Well done, GW. Always coming up trumps with the Zenith stuff. And also, it's not just that, but also they're giving us 15% off the North Bank stand coin as well. So another brilliant gift. If you stood in the North Bank with a North Bank Highbury. Well, so the Emirate, but you know what I'm saying, right? The North Bank coin, 15% off. Use code SQUAD15. And the original one that we started with right here on Highbury Squad, the thing that got us launched, is the Arsenal coin, the club coin. This is all licensed and official with the club, as you guys know. We've had a brilliant relationship with Zenith, and we are so grateful that they are being generous with the promotion. And this week, up until once a week, from now until shipping ends during the holiday season, I'm going to be giving away. We're going to give away one of these, not every week. We're going to give one away for the month of November. I'm going to give 2 away in December. These are really super special. And then we're going to give away a North Bank coin once a week, and we're going to give away an Arsenal coin once a week between now and the end of the shipping date, wherever that cutoff is for the holiday season. Fergus is asking me how much. Go to zenithcoins.com. I think the North Bank and the Arsenal coin are 25 each. The Invincibles one, I'm not sure. I should have checked that. Terrible for me. But maybe one of you could go check and let the squaddies know. I'm a one-woman show here. I've got a lot to do. But yeah, I think the others are 20. So if you get 15% off that price, that is brilliant, right? And they are super quality, and we're very grateful. Squad 15, go use that code. Go give them some love today, and go buy one and treat yourselves or treat your Arsenal friends. It's £149 for the Invincibles collection. And I mean, it's beautiful. Thank you so much, Guna Works, for letting me know. But you get 15% off that. So it is well worth the investment. And by the way, the photo with the whiskey there, I'm already all in on that. All in on that. So I'll be giving one away at the end of this month, and I'll be giving another one away at the beginning of December as well. So stay tuned for that. All right. Give our friends at Zenith Coins some love. Go buy stuff. Don't forget to use your code SQUAD15. Brilliant stuff. I'd love to end on a happy note. I mean, look, Santa Sophie's here. We're giving stuff away. I'm also going to be giving away some Highbury Squad coins as well. Super collectible, of course. You can hold this and treasure it and hold it in your heart forever and ever and ever. And it's what Super Kev would want us to do. And so with our good friends at Zenith Coins, we're going to be giving away quite a few. Well, we don't have a lot left. They were exclusive, but I will be giving away a few, and we're going to make that part of a storytelling series that's coming up between now and the holidays. Okay. Make it count, people who do good things. And we're going to do it in association with the Kevin Campbell Foundation as well. We're going to try and raise some money. It's the holiday season, and we're going to give stuff away too. And I'm looking for you guys to help me. And on that note, I would like to say, what a goal. Tyrese Campbell, the Steel City Derby. Wow. Sheffield United versus Sheffield Wednesday. Talk about intense rivalry, pure hatred. And Ty gets the winning goal. It was an absolutely beautiful finish. And of course, we had to mention him today. Full-time score was 1-0, and Tyrese Campbell gets the winner. We're very proud of him, and we just loved seeing this celebration. It was absolutely awesome. So well done to Sheffield United, and well done to Ty. You know how proud we are of you, and there are a lot of people who loved seeing you have that moment as well. Right, kids, that is it for Monday Madness. How about that? Very special show. Thank you to Andrew. Please do go listen to all the shows that we have on our channel. The iTunes is up and running again. So for those of you who enjoy listening on audio, we're trying to fix Spotify. We had a major worm, virus, call it what you want. It was disgusting. We've had to have a total cleanse. So, you can catch the show now on iTunes again. His dad would be so proud, Mikey. He really, really would. He'd be talking about it on the show today. No doubt. It was really, go check out the goal. Sheffield United have really, it's just been a beautiful way they've kind of been sharing the videos and the images and everything. It's been wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And you guys have been wonderful. Please do me a favor. If you're free at 7, go listen to Fergus and Trev and the boys over at Guns and Yellow Ribbons on YouTube. Another show where, no matter what's going on in adversity, they'll be honest and they'll be critical, but they will always have their clubs back. So please do go give the boys a visit and show your support over there for Guns and Yellow Ribbons as well. All right, kids, I will be back. We have a show tomorrow night. Go from Guns and Yellow Ribbons to Potsy. He's got 5 Get Off the Potsies for you. So we're going to do that tomorrow night at 10. And then we've got Tom Canton on as well for the midweek musings this week. And we'll keep you entertained during the international break as well. All right, everyone, lots of love. And you know the rules here at Squad Central. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, squaddies at ease. And how about we leave you with the pick of the day? Have a good night.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.